entertaining podcasts I listen to. I don't listen to many. That one, Francine, is a different point of view. It's a female point of view, but someone who's been through the hardcore wars.
Yes.
So what Francine has to say to me matters and is important. And there are two guys up in New York, Monte and the Pharaoh.
Mm-hmm.
I find them hugely entertaining. I find them fun to listen to. But those three are the only three podcasts really other than, the PW Insider stuff that I listen to at all.
Big Ron Shaw here, the Earl of Upsets, telling you to watch my friends Monte and the Pharaoh on Long Island's #1 wrestling podcast show, and soon to be the world's #1 wrestling podcast show. That is going to be a big upset.
We're visiting Pharaoh's here after last night's Super ECW tribute show.
Deluxe.
Pharaoh's looking good though as he gets older. He can handle his liquor a little better, right? But we'll be flowing around. Hopefully, get to see a few people. We'll be posting these videos. So we'll talk to you soon.
I don't care if they talk shit. I don't talk to hypocrites. If you hate me, that's just fine. Go on down and get in line. They try to tell me what I need, and it sure ain't nothing good for me. Don't care what they say, it's all just talk. Gonna head my way and walk my walk. They try to bend me, but I won't break. I pay no mind to the noise they make. I keep my head, I hold my ground. Ain't no man gonna knock me down. They can swing, but I won't flinch. I was built for times like this, so talk your shit, but be aware. I don't care.
All right, welcome back to the Howard Stern of Pro Wrestling, Monte the Pharaoh. Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
Good. What's going on?
We are right around the corner, my friend, from the big event New York, where we'll be there. And we've got some special guests from the big event New York. Are you excited this year there, Jimmy Pharaoh?
Oh, excited. Yeah, I'm excited. Can't you tell?
You got to sell me a little better on that.
Oh,
Hold on before I bring.
Fantastic. We're gonna run around with our toy belts. We're gonna go here. We're gonna go there. I'm gonna look for the wrestlers from February 1978. Is that better?
Join us this Saturday for Monte and the Pharaoh at the big event New York. It's going to be huge.
I think the AI Pharaoh is much better looking. Dude, can you now wear the...
Since you want to go there, this week, AI Pharaoh opened his mouth, AI Monte opened their mouth, and they had female voices. So F you.
No, it wasn't female voice. It was
was
a narrator. But I'm serious though. Can you start wearing
a narrator that sounded like Judy Garland?
Yes, yeah, why not?
Okay, coming out of my mouth. Okay, gotcha. Go on.
Wait, may I ask you this? Can you start with the bandana though? Can we go to the bandana look? I like it.
I'm glad you like that, Mike. I tell you what, next week you can draw up a whole new one that's got, I don't know. You want to put an earring on me too? Well, do that too. How about some tattoos?
I'm going to bring in our guest, and we're going to ask her what she thinks. All right, how's that? Miss Melodie Koloff, thank you for joining us, my friend, to the Howard Stern of Pro Wrestling. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
We're honored to have you and the legacy that you're trying to carry for your grandfather. So talk to me. First time doing the big event in New York, I believe. I don't remember seeing you there before.
Yeah, this will be a first time for me. First time for my grandmother as well. And we're going to have Nikita Koloff, Vladimir Koloff, and Neil Koloff. He's in part of the new generation of Koloffs. And we'll be there and we'll be talking to the fans, selling pictures, taking pictures. And I'm really excited to meet a lot of people there.
I'm sure the fans will be very excited. And coming off this interview, I saw you jack up the tickets a little bit. So tell me, where did you come up with the idea to reestablish the Koloff family?
So establishing the family was actually not my idea. I was approached by Nikita, Vladimir, and Neil, and they said, we're getting the gang back together and we want you to represent Uncle Ivan. And so little did they know, I was actually already working on my own little get together of trying to reintroduce Ivan Koloff. And my mission was to reintroduce Ivan Koloff as I knew him. I didn't want him to be this big bad heel. I wanted him to represent a legacy. And so we combined the two ideas and I said, I'm in, let's go. And it's been amazing. We're kicking it off tomorrow or Saturday in New York. And I think it's going to be amazing.
So, Melody, are you saying you're more redefining his legacy rather than what was already somewhat intact? Ivan is a very polarizing figure, so it's amazing to me that you've decided to go into this in the first place. Are you ready for what this business holds? Because Ivan went through a lot of garbage himself, obviously.
Yeah, I think it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do. I never got to see the Russian heel. I never got to hate the man that I knew. And I was like, well, he's had his run. This is a legacy. This is something that deserves to live on. And so kind of rebranding what you know as Ivan Koloff, I think is important. Obviously, we're still going to be active in the wrestling world, but I think there's a lot more that the legacy of Ivan Koloff can do and a bigger impact it can leave than just what he did in life.
Earlier before we came on air, we talked about that you moved back to the Carolinas to be with your grandmother, right? And let me ask you this. Have you had discussions with your grandmother about your grandfather and her life as a wife of a pro wrestler? And can you share with people what she may have shared with you?
Every day. We talk about Papa every single day of my life. It's actually when he passed, me and her had a really difficult time with it. Obviously, they were soulmates, so she had a very difficult time leaving that part of her life behind. That was all she knew was traveling and these crazy stories like you wouldn't believe. I mean, she's got some crazy stories. And I'm like, my Mima did that. But I knew him as my best friend. And so talking about him is actually how we've been able to cope with it or not cope with it, I guess. And it helps us a lot to just talk about him and share these memories and keep that person alive. We're very blessed and thankful to have that. Not a lot of people have that when they mourn the loss of somebody. So we do. We have some crazy stories. Ric Flair was one of her best friends, and I'm like, there's no way my Mima lived that life, but she did. So she's got some good stories for sure.
Let me ask you this. So we've had Nikita on the show, great guy, a God-fearing man, very intelligent, really wonderful guy. And we're just wrestling fans, and we grew up in the Northeast where Ivan defeated the great Bruno Sammartino, which, you know what, you can't. The legacy moves on just from there. But we all heard the stories of your grandfather having his addiction problems and coming out of that. Did your grandfather share with you, especially since you're his granddaughter, growing up and saying, hey, don't do the things I did? And could you share that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. By the time I came along, he was very much a strong Christian man. Faith was something very much pushed into our daily lives. And I'm so thankful to have that foundation now, because getting back into this business, it's not something that I could do without my faith, for sure. I don't know how anybody does this business without having faith and trust in something like God. It's definitely the reason why we do everything that we do and the reason he was able to do everything he did. And so I think his addiction and his alcohol abuse and stuff like that, it played a really big part in our lives. I got to hear his testimony all the time. On Sundays, he'd go and preach. So I grew up knowing how much of a toll it had on his life. And you get to see he's in all this pain because he doesn't really take pain medication or he doesn't drink anymore. But he knows his life would be so much worse if he didn't quit. And so getting to see that discipline and that adoration for his faith really impacted our lives, and it ultimately impacted the end of his career as well.
Do you think that with the way society is today, this might be an awkward question, but I'm going to try to make sense of this.
Okay.
The way society is today, do you think that your grandfather's gimmick would be even able to be presented today because of the sensitivity that everybody has nowadays? Like, if you had a Russian coming out and, doing what he did so well, because back in those days, of course, we bought into it. Russia was always the enemy. I mean, come on, I don't think we're exactly best friends now, although some people will tell you we are, depending on the narrative. It's so confusing nowadays. Any thoughts to that maybe you do need to redefine because of does his gimmick corner him in today's society?
Well, given the time period, this is actually something me and him talked about a lot. Growing up, I was learning about the Cold War and how much people hated Russians. And he was like, baby girl, that's why they hate me so much. Because you have a hard time understanding why people hate somebody you love so much. And he would explain it, with the times they were supposed to hate me. That was the point. And so I have a really good understanding of what that did in the business side of it. And so I think today it's completely possible. I mean, given political standards and stuff, you can poke a nerve if you want to. I think it might be more dangerous now with the internet making news go so fast. I think that's an advantage they may have had in the past of it took a minute to get around. You could maybe get to safety. But he did. He lived a dangerous life.
Yeah, my fear is the sensitivity of networks and sponsors and all that stuff. Oh, don't do this, don't do that. Wrestling feels a little sterile nowadays, but I regress on that. Getting into the business as you've been doing now, how difficult are you finding it? Because there should be some ease with it, because after all, you're a Koloff. But is that also a roadblock too to you, or do you want to be recognized for you? How do you tackle all of that?
So my main goal is not to be recognized in me as me at all. In this business, I've made it very upfront and understood. I'm not Melodie Koloff. I'm not chasing a career for myself. I'm merely the voice of my grandfather. If he was here, I'm doing exactly what he would have done to the best of my knowledge and capability. It's really not been that difficult. There's obviously been roadblocks and stuff like that, but I truly believe when you come at something with the right heart and purpose, I think the right people, emphasis on the right people, they see that. And I think when you have common goals to help people, that's where the right things come in. So I don't think it's been too difficult to date.
Melodie, obviously your last name isn't really Koloff, but considering growing up as a child.
It's not?
Oh, you didn't know that, Jimmy?
No. You're
It
ruining
says it on
everything.
the screen, so
Ruining everything for me right now. Go ahead.
Melodie, growing up and people knowing who your grandfather was, what kind of roadblocks did that cause you growing up? Or was it something that you got privileges? Did you have a teacher that was a wrestling fan and gave you A's? Or did you have a teacher that hated the Russian sickle and gave you F's? You know what I mean?
I was actually pretty indifferent to it. There wasn't any help or hurt necessarily. Definitely had a gym teacher that comes to mind. All the time we did pizza bingo, and he was like, Ivan, come sit up front and sign autographs. And so pizza bingo night turned into Ivan Koloff autograph night. We really didn't have normal events like that growing up, I guess. But he passed away before I got into high school, which is where I guess most of the credit could have come in. I was a pretty quiet kid, so I really didn't get hurt or helped by it much.
When Nikita was on the show, he spoke about, when your grandfather finally, gave up he recognized God and, gave his life to God. Can you share, you said when you lost him, it was very painful for both you and your grandmother, obviously. Could you share the last days of Ivan Koloff? Was he full of regret? Was he looking forward to seeing Christ? What was Ivan Koloff thinking that you know?
Towards the end, I actually was kind of blindsided. I didn't know he was sick. He had kept that from me, obviously. You don't want to tell your best friend that you're dying. When I found out, it was very difficult for me. And, you're just a preteen, teenager. I struggled a lot with the diagnosis in the last stages and how rapidly he went downhill. I don't recall him being regretful, though. He wanted my grandmother to be okay. And it was more just being surrounded by the people he loved and knowing he was going to see Jesus. He was honestly comforting us more than we comforted him. He knew he was going to see Jesus and he was ready, but I think he was kind of factoring in that it would mean we're not going to be there anymore, but he died surrounded by the people that loved him the most. So I think that really did help things.
Were you raised with strong faith, or did this come in later in your life? Or
No, I was raised with very strong faith. My mom's actually a gospel singer. She does Highway Revival, and they're still active. They've been doing that since, goodness, I was 4 or 5 years old. So very strong roots in faith, and I'm very blessed to have that.
Polarizing figure, obviously, with a history with your grandfather. What are your personal feelings about Vince McMahon?
I don't personally know him, so I don't really have any strong feelings per se. I think he's a genius with what he's prepared and done for the industry. He's obviously trailblazed the entire industry and modernized it. I think that's a big thing. That whole family is modernized WWE, and some people love that, some people hate it, but I mean, it's an industry. Fact of the matter, you have to modernize, and I think they've all done a great job with that. I don't have any ill will towards anybody for anything. Have no reason to. I think they're great people.
It's a great answer. One of the big things, obviously, in the wrestling community is, especially old school fans like ourselves, how does Ivan Koloff, let's even talk about Nikita Koloff. How are they not, right? I think Ivan finally did he ended up in like the side wing or something like that? They backdoored him. How do you feel, not just, let's put aside that you're his granddaughter, but how do you feel considering the legacy that it had? Don't you think that they should have shown the great Ivan Koloff a little more respect than that?
This is actually something that comes up quite often, and I have no regret, have no displacement, I guess, towards that. For me, it's been 10 years almost since he's died. The fact that they even still considered him, we kind of had just accepted, he's not going to be in there. It's okay. And he had come to terms with that. It was something he had wanted. He was humble about it. He's like, oh, well, it's okay. I don't have to be in there. I'm in the Hall of Faith is what he said, what mattered. But you could tell he wanted to be in there with his friends and be recognized. But once he had passed, it was kind of just an understood, this is my papa and I've got my memories. And when he was inducted, there really wasn't like they're blindsiding us. None of that. We're extremely grateful as a whole. And I think it's what he deserved, to be recognized even after all these years. There's no bitterness. There's no remorse there. No ill will whatsoever. It's a privilege and an honor to be even thought.
I don't mean to pry, but I kind of need to know in a way, because I was with the widow of Wahoo McDaniel, and I know that when they put Wahoo McDaniel in the Hall of Fame, the family was not invited. Did you guys at least get an invitation?
Oh yeah, WWE definitely took care of us. We felt very loved on, and like I said, it was almost 10 years after he'd passed. We were kind of taken aback by everything. Like, what are we doing here? This is just my papa. He made me breakfast in bed. What is the red carpet? It was kind of hard for us to take in, but it definitely was something for our memories. My younger two siblings were 7 and 8 at the time, and so they went and told their friends all about, I got to be at WWE on the red carpet, but they really don't understand what it means. They took very good care of us, and we're very, very blessed and honored to be a part of it.
Let's go back to the beginning, Melody. You opened up with saying, hey, the family came to you and said, let's bring back the Koloff family. We're ready to go. Mm-hmm. What was the mindset behind that? Was there an agenda? What's the mindset behind this Koloff tour that you're traveling from state to state with?
So the idea actually came from a group called Wrestle Breed. They're amazing, amazing group. We've got tons of people that are traveling with us. And I think the idea of what Wrestle Breed is trying to achieve with this is just resurfacing the name. We've got a legacy, and let's influence people with it. Let's bring it back for the one time, a reunion tour. I think of it not as much of a retirement tour as much as a reunion tour. Let's get the family back together and show people where we're strong at. And I think it's going to very much achieve that. You've not seen this side of the Koloffs in a long time, so I'm very excited.
Well, Bruce wants to ask a question. He wants to know, what can fans expect when they come to the table of the Koloffs this weekend?
I think you can expect to see. Very good question, Bruce.
It's a great. Bruce is. I'm going to back out. Let's just Bruce ask the question.
No. Bruce has got limited vocabulary. He translates for me through isms.
Good question for limited vocabulary. I think people can expect out of the Koloffs a different side. There's going to be some things I think you're not expecting to come out of this group of people. Nikita's been in the business for a long time, and I think you're going to expect some great things out of him. And Vladimir is going to come in strong with his strong points as well. And Neil, as somebody, I'm very excited for people to get to meet on this level. Great dude, but he is the baddest Russian I think I've ever seen. He's tough. And I think people are going to really get a taste of that this weekend. And also getting to see the legacy in its livest point. It's been years and decades that they've done this. And I think it's honestly at its strongest point in terms of influencing people. And I think you definitely can leave different than you came on this tour. So it'll be something for the books as well.
Well, I've got to ask a personal question now. So when Nikita was with us, we spent the entire, Jimmy, from 9 a.m. till 11 o'clock at night with the great Nikita Koloff. And for the whole time, we asked him, can you please at least act Russian once for us? He wouldn't do it until the end. If I go to the table, will he work the Russian gimmick or will he refuse to do it?
I've heard him a couple of times so far, just in promoting it. I think he's pretty excited, pretty into it. So I think he might be convinced. If you try really hard and say "pretty please," he might have to Russian sickle you for it. But it might be.
Well, how about you? Are you breaking into any kind of Russian accent while you're at the table?
Not an accent. I definitely was the Russian that grew up in North Carolina. My accent is something I don't think I can hide, even if I try. I have tried.
This Russian sounds southern. Russian. What's going on here?
That's a southern Russian right there, Jimmy. What is that all about?
I grew up in the South, but I've got these Russian roots. They run deep for sure. My personality might turn a little Russian heel. Yeah, I don't really know what's going to happen. We're just going to go in the moment and hope nobody pisses me off enough to be full Russian.
Uh-oh. So you said your grandmother's going to be there also, right?
Yes.
I got to tell you, that's pretty cool. How excited is she to come to New York?
She is over the moon. You know, she traveled with my grandfather all those years, and it's going to be weird doing it without him. And we've talked about this quite often just a couple days ago of this is a big change for her. You know, this is her retirement life. She used to be a secretary, do the work and travel with them. I mean, she lived the rest of her life, you know? And so she's retired and now she's like, okay, I'm going back on the road. Let's do it. And so I think once she gets there, she'll be back in her element. And I'm excited to see what this will do for her. Feeling my papa's presence there without him physically being there. I think it'll bring back good memories. She's loved wrestling since she was just a little kid, 5 or 6 years old. So I think it'll do her a lot of good to be back in her comfort zone.
Well, I really think
any chance you're gonna take it to the Garden for a promo spot or something like that? Because it blows my mind, Mike. When you think about it, what is this? 55 years ago, I think. Ivan Koloff turned New York silent as they all stared at each other. I mean, I'd take it to the Garden.
Well, Mel, I got to ask you that question. And again, we weren't around for it, but rumor says when he beat San Martino, the place was silent. Did your grandfather ever tell you that story in Madison Square Garden? If he did, could you share it?
Yeah, he told me, you kind of get caught up in the moment, like adrenaline. And this was his hero, like his absolute hero. He respected Bruno so much, even after all these years. You know, you ask him, who's your hero? Who's your favorite wrestler? Bruno Sammartino was always his answer. He respected that man so much, and to be able to have this opportunity to be able to beat him for the title was something he never thought he could do. And he loved that for the rest of his life, that he was able to experience that. And when he told me about that night, he thought something had gone wrong. Bruno thought he had lost his hearing, and Papa thought, something's got to be wrong. Like, why hasn't anything happened? They rush him out of the ring, and he's like, well, I beat the dude. Why don't I get the belt? Why don't I get my hand raised? And they're like, get out. Just go. Because they didn't know what was going to happen. That silence, Bill Apter says you could hear a pin drop. And there's just tons of accounts of that night that all tell the same story. And I think it tells volumes that even the people in the ring have that same story. It's really, really crazy. Definitely something in history.
You obviously saw the softer side of Ivan Koloff, but to the public, especially after his retirement over the years, he came across sometimes, not all the time, everybody's, different, but he came across very angry sometimes. Did he ever express frustration to you? Because after all, this is an old school wrestler who had to run for his life after he wins a belt, for God's sakes. That would never happen today, okay?
Yeah.
He watched wrestling go from being sold as a real sport. We're old enough, Mike, that we remember these days. And then it turns into a circus. Did he ever express frustration to you? He had to be pissed off to some degree.
Never. We called him our Papa Teddy Bear. He put bows in my hair. He sang "You Are My Sunshine" to me in the car. He was just my best friend. He held me when I cried. He brought us breakfast in bed. Like, he was just... I had a hard time understanding why people could hate him, and he really had to explain it to me growing up. I got to understand, it's his job, but I never got to see that side of him. I used to giggle and laugh when he did the Russian voice. He would leave me voicemails at school or something, or he'd pick me up in the Russian accent, and I just thought, like, dude, I'm going to get arrested, and it would drive me nuts, frustrate me. He'd say, like, the craziest things, like, these Americans are gaining on us, we've got to have a summit meeting right away, and I'm like, you can't say stuff like that. I'm going to get arrested. And so it definitely was more comical, and he knew that. But never was he frustrated. He was just the humblest, sweetest old man. He was my papa. He was my grandpa.
So let me ask you this. You're around North Carolina. Papa's been around. You're walking with him and stuff. Have you ever come across a time where some guy sees him? He's like, that's "Freaking Ivan Koloff, I hate you!" and start screaming at him and spitting at him. And
People would come up to like our dinner table. This was a day in the life. When you go out with me, mom, and papa, you go grocery shopping, you go to the dinner table. Somebody's going to come up at you, swearing and cursing. Some are like, "Oh my gosh, I remember you from my childhood." Some people would get mad, and he would love it. Sometimes he'd interact and get mad in the Russian voice, or sometimes he would just smile and say, "Thank you so much. I'm so glad you got to hate me." But
wow.
yeah, people all the time come up and recognized them. You just eat your dinner, and we'll continue the conversation in a little bit.
Jimmy, I got to say this. It's refreshing to hear someone, well, a family like this, first of all, and also a man who is so grateful for the life that he was given. I mean, it is very, very impressive. And again, we spoke about the Hall of Fame, where it just shows wrestling fans, if the wrestler and his family is okay with what happened, get off your high horse and stop complaining about it then, right? Because they're fine with it. You should be fine with it, right?
Yeah, well, it really cleared it up for me, because quite honestly, you know about Karen McDaniel and how she was treated with the Hall of Fame induction, and Bruiser Brody's wife was treated the same way. So to hear that they took care of her in this case is definitely refreshing, no doubt about it.
I got to ask you about your grandmother again, because I'm so interested. On this show we don't really talk a lot of wrestling. We want to know about real life, and it's wonderful to hear that your grandmother loved your grandfather so much. But
Yeah.
again, how hard would this had to be hard for her though, right? The guy's on the road all the time. There's got to be jealousy. Like, has she ever did she ever get to a point where she told you I didn't want him to do it anymore or anything like that?
No, my grandmother has been into wrestling since she was a kid. This was her dream life as well. They were soulmates for sure. I think when they met, it was just they knew they couldn't live without each other, and they never did. My mom would stay with her grandmother on the weekends, and my grandmother would watch my mom during the weekdays, and it was just a life that worked. It worked very well for both of them. They traveled together. My grandmother flew just as much as my grandfather did when they were together, even through retirement. I knew on the weekends if I wasn't with my mom singing, I was with me, mom, papa on the road, going to an autograph signing, even as far as Pennsylvania, New York, Florida, wherever we went. It definitely was just our lifestyle, and she lived that life as well right there with them.
So we're skipping a generation, and again, I'm not trying to talk negative, but I'm just so interested. Tell me about your father and your mother then. How was your mother like with this? Ken, you got the greatest side of Mr. Koloff, right? Because you're the apple of his eye, right? But there's his daughter, who is the one that's living with never seeing her father. How was her life growing up with Ivan Koloff?
I think one thing we are all very blessed with in all of our generations, from my grandmother to my mother, also to me, and I think it was passed down from Papa, was this love for this industry and what we do. My mom, she travels on the weekends now because that's what she was used to as a kid. If you're able to travel, you pack up and go. If I'm home for a weekend, if my mom's home for a weekend, we don't know what to do. She was off this weekend, and she was like, "Let's pack up and go somewhere." So they went off somewhere. It's just in our blood to travel. Their group's called Highway Revival because they're always on the highway having revival. It's just her comfort zone, and that's something Papa passed down to us, is that love for travel and what you do, being so passionate that your family understands that and has that passion with you. And I think it's a mutual love and respect that he showed us, how to love your family even when you're not always there, and even in terms of he's not here anymore, and we still feel this love and support. She feels it in her ministry as well. And I think growing up for her was a little weird. You have random wrestlers coming up, you're trying to play your game, and there's some big strong dude in front of you trying to move you out of the way or something. But we all had an understanding growing up of this is the life that we live, and we're very blessed to be able to be a part of it.
Jimmy, the one thing we're not talking about.
Mike, I'm sorry, but as I'm hearing her, I'm thinking to myself, not to be selfish or self-centered, but I'm thinking, man, I was raised really rotten in comparison. This is terrible.
Listen, one thing it does say, Jimmy, in today's world where we've lost God, this is a family that's around the Bible.
That's what I'm getting at.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. The values have held them together like glue. I'm
like glue.
I'm like, wow.
So the one thing, we're talking about WWE. huge portion of Ivan and Nikita was the NWA and being
Yeah.
out of Charlotte, right? And things like that. You mentioned Ric Flair. Did your father ever tell you any stories? A grandfather tell you, and your grandmother tell you any stories? You said she was best friends with Ric Flair. What was it like being best friends with Ric Flair?
A lot of crazy stories, some that you have to check and you're like, there's no way you really did that, you know? A lot of crazy stories. Some of them do come from before my grandfather got saved, and some of those stories show it. They were wild stories. All the time, just crazy stories. Like you wouldn't even believe. I couldn't even give you an example right now. But they did. They hung out a lot. You know, they wrestled, they traveled together. I think there's a point they lived together up north somewhere. And yeah, crazy, crazy stories that as a grandkid, I didn't get to meet these people. I've never met Ric Flair. I'd love to. But my grandmother tells me these stories of going out and going to dinner with him, or he was at the dinner table, or, you know, they went out and had a meal together or something. And I'm like, there's no way you sat at the table with Ric Flair and had this conversation. I mean, they knew each other when she was just a teenager. So they go way back and have pictures. Actually, in the high school that I went to here in North Carolina, they went and wrestled there all the time. And I'm like, there's no way that's my band room that Ric Flair and my grandmother were standing in and taking a picture. So they definitely had a life that was crazy in modern society, but that was just the typical wrestler life back then.
So you and your grandmother are still big wrestling fans, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're going to the big event. Who's Melody going to mark out for at the big event?
You are cursed. Oh, he's not there,
He's-
Danhausen?
I don't think he's there.
Never mind.
Who are we marking out for, Melody?
You know, I really have not had a chance to look at the guest list. I've had so much work going on as far as wrestling. This is definitely my full-time job, doing wrestling in and out for a bunch of different promotions and indie guys. I truthfully don't know who's going to be there, but I like hearing stories from wrestlers. So any wrestler that's got a story, not just about my grandfather, about being in the industry and any advice. I love people with veteran service in this industry, and I'm really excited, going to mark out just a little bit over everybody there, just being able to have that opportunity.
How about Grandma? Is Grandma looking forward to meeting anybody?
I'd have to look at the guest list a little bit closer. She's not in modern wrestling. Most of the guys that she knows are older guys, some that have passed away. You know, she definitely knew my grandfather's crew. But no, there's nobody that sticks out right now. But then again, I haven't looked at that guest list very closely like I probably should.
Mike, I would think Morocco might be somebody, you know?
You know, that is one that she mentioned.
Yeah.
I actually am friends with him on Facebook and stuff. She did mention him.
Yep.
Very excited to see him for sure.
Yeah. Have you tried to reach out to Ric Flair? I could probably get the phone number if I bother Karen about it.
I have not. It is definitely something on the books.
Interesting.
I know in a
He
couple
was at the
weeks we'll
big
be
event
in
last
Vegas.
year.
Sorry?
He was at the big event last year, right, Mike?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think he was supposed to be there this year, I thought, but I think something came up. He had to cancel. I might be wrong in seeing that. I may have heard last year's news. But I do know he's supposed to be in Vegas. So hopefully meeting him in Vegas will be something that happens. And that'll be one that my kids are like, there's no way my mom did that. Meeting Ric Flair in Vegas.
Does Grandma shake her head when she sees some of these Ric Flair shenanigans over the years? He's still a rock star.
She gets a little worried sometimes, you know, saying, Rick,
Yeah.
just slow down, man. She calls him her big brother. And she's like, I'm
Oh,
worried
wow.
about him. But she loves him. She'll fight for him tooth and nail. That's her family.
So where is the Koloff family traveling now? From New York. Where are you going after that?
I think we have a couple of weeks off. I know April 11th we have a show that's still the location of that's being determined. But then we'll be in Vegas the 17th and 18th of April. May is going to be a busy week. So be on the lookout on all of our social medias for where we're going to be next. We're going to be advertising those pretty soon. Really up until June, we are booked almost every weekend. So it'll be good. And hopefully we come to a city near the people and they can come out and see us.
Are you amazed that over a half a century after his most infamous moment that you're doing this now? That the legacy. What age did you say to yourself, you know what? I might not be the normal kid on the block.
I never dreamed I'd be doing this. I was a quiet kid. Yeah, I was just a really shy, quiet kid growing up. I think if anybody in high school saw me, they'd be like, there's no way that's Melody doing this. I was reserved, quiet, and really it never dawned on me that I didn't have a normal childhood, really, until people like you are telling me that I didn't. This was just my life.
There you go, Jimmy. You just
Hey,
ruined her
you're
life.
not normal. What?
You obviously realize, maybe going to all these wrestling events is not the norm.
Yeah.
Not all grandpas can say they've done this and done that. And I got to see my grandpa beat with a chain. There's not a Russian chain in the back of everybody's grandpa's car. But that was just the norm for me. And I really didn't realize that wasn't normal until going and doing this work. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I'm like, this was just a typical Tuesday, but okay.
Melody, not prying, but I don't know if you're married, you're dating, but if you are, how does being a Koloff and doing this traveling affect your personal relationships?
I say very blessed because I have this life and I like to travel. I got it honest. It's in my blood to travel. Not dating, not married, no prospects. I'm married to my work and married to making a legacy of my grandfather's name. And it's something I've always said, if it comes along, I'm not opposed to it, but it would have to be something that fits in with my lifestyle. I think if there's somebody God's got for me, it fits in with this life that I live and they'd be understanding of it. But right now, actively searching it out is not the move for me. I've got too much going on.
But there's going to be one rule. So now that you've been on the show and now we're friends, you will not be allowed to date wrestlers or marry any wrestlers, okay?
When I got into this business, that is the one thing I said, I will never. And my grandma's like, don't say what you won't do.
Right.
But if I can help it, definitely working and sleeping in the same place is not what you want to do. Definitely keeping it professional. And I've made a lot of great friendships and relationships in this that I value so much. I would never want to mess with any of it. So no dating wrestlers or promoters or any of that will ever happen on my watch if I can help it.
You haven't experienced any creepy fans yet, have you?
I have.
Oh, boy.
Uh-oh. All right, you got it. Melody, good question, Jimmy. You got to tell a story. You don't know listen, you don't have to tell the fan's name, but we got to know the story. What are the creepy fan, wrestling fans?
There have definitely been some interesting. I love interacting with the fans, and I'm a person, I'll talk to anybody and everybody all day long. I'm a yapper. But it kills me sometimes people will just say, hey, and then no answer. And I'm like, hi, like, do you want something? Like, do you want to book something? And they just, hi, and then they'll send me just pictures of like their Instagram or their Facebook. And I'm like, okay, like, what do you want? But it's strange sometimes. And you're like, should I make this a private page? No, this needs to be a business page. But I love interacting with people. And I always encourage people, hey, send me like anything, text me, talk to me. Let's be friends. Let's build connections and network. There's no such thing as a low person. Like fans are the reason this industry is the way it is. And I feel like they should be respected and valued. But there are some that just disappear and vanish that scare me a little bit.
Jimmy, she's too good. Because I was going to say to you, like, don't you get like a little like when they're just like, oh, tell me what it's like, and it's like, or just like stop, leave me alone, nerd.
I'll tell you one thing that's for mathematical assurance. The possibilities of a marital candidate at the big event are basically nil and none.
that is true. You're safe, Melody. You're safe.
I'm good.
Yeah, fascinating, Captain. Oh, God.
I know too much in this industry, I think, to something like that.
I'm wise to you, nerd. Back off. Oh, kid.
Leave me alone.
Boy. Yeah. Dynamite Wrestler 1975. Come here, lady. Oh, my God. Help. Warning. My cat's getting alarmed. Unbelievable. Bruce, it's okay. It's okay. You're not going to the convention. Oh, dear God.
And we do a wrestling show, by the way. Hello.
Sure, why not? Why not? We're semi-good looking.
All right, Jimmy, I got to get this back on track. I'm sorry.
Please, by all means, conduct.
Melody, tell me about your personal relationship with Nikita Koloff.
So when I first saw him as a kid, I did not know I met Nikita Koloff because he had hair. Could not figure out. Papa told me, that's Nikita, baby. I said, no, it ain't. He had hair at the time. I saw him at a wrestling match that was also like a church. It was like a revival. I think it was somewhere in Western North Carolina where I first met him as a kid. I still am not convinced that I met Nikita that day. I'm going to have to talk about that to him when I see him again. But I grew up talking to him on the phone. My grandpa would call Nikki on the phone and they'd talk, and I would talk on the phone like I did most of the guys that I grew up knowing. And I didn't see him again until the funeral, actually. He did my grandfather's funeral and didn't really get to talk to him and see him because, you're mourning, just lost your best friend. But I'm excited to reconnect with them now, especially now that I'm in this industry a little more. I know what I'm talking about a little more, and I think we're going to be really good friends. I'm excited to see my Uncle Nikita.
Well, considering that you're a family of faith and there's a lot of faith involved in this particular gathering here going on this weekend, could you say a prayer that Mike remembers where he parked his car? Because when we had Nikita Koloff that day, we went back to the parking garage and literally walked around for an hour while Nikita and I exchanged Bible sermons, Mike. So let's make sure we say a little prayer that we remember where we parked our car. The parking lot is a little smaller in this case, so sorry.
Jimmy, I had forgotten about that, but thank you for bringing that up.
That was hilarious. Oh my God.
I'm sure he got a crack out of that too.
This is my life. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oi. Have you come across any look, the business is seedy, and unfortunately for us, we started this as fans almost 10 years ago, which is kind of scary unto itself. But coming in as fans and then seeing all the nonsense that goes on behind the scenes with the maneuvering and the backstabbing, boy, I better get back to reading my Bible if I'm going to turn out like you. But have you come across anything that has made you second guess yet? Like, oh God, I got to deal with this shark or that shark, anything like that yet? I hope not, but.
No, there's obviously some people where you're like, okay, maybe not go the direction that they're going. But I'm always open to work with anybody, and if it works out, it works out. If not, I'm the type of person I'll bow out gracefully. I just think when we have common goals, we help each other, and when we don't, there's no harm in it. We just go our separate ways. So I don't think I've had any like, oh, I don't want to work with them. They just are going in a different direction. If it works for them, I really hope it works. But I've run into a couple of people where I just had to walk away. I don't think it'll work out, but I think when people are like-minded, things work out exactly like God's got planned. So no, I've not really had anything too crazy happen like that.
Has this actually become your job now? I'm just curious what your personal life is like outside of this. Do you have a regular thing that you do and you work your way around it? How does this work in your quote unquote real life?
I did have a career in retail management. Since I was 18 years old, I've been doing retail management. I've run stores, been the store managers of stores. I've done very well in my career up until this point. And when I started doing this wrestling thing, had no clue where it would go. And I've actually stepped down from my career, put it on pause for a little bit. With retail management, there's only so much you can do. And I love retail. I like being in control of things. I like advocating and delegating. But this is something I want to do full time. And I've managed and been very blessed to be able to succeed in that goal a little bit. And I hope it can take me very far.
Melodie, fans out there asking, do you have any Roddy Piper stories? Did your grandfather tell you any Roddy Piper stories?
Not any specifically. How I learned most of the wrestlers' names and stories about them, I actually would work out with my grandfather in his office. He had a home office that was literally just gym equipment. And so when I could walk, I was in there lifting whatever I could lift. It was our bonding time. And so he would tell me their names and just his favorite stories and his favorite names and what they did together and what he thought about people. That's how I learned their true characters before I learned their character. And so Roddy Piper was somebody he always talked very highly of. Him and my grandmother both loved him and adored him, and they traveled the road quite a lot. I don't have any specific stories, but I know it was always, oh, that's my friend Roddy. That's my friend Roddy. And they were just very, very close, very great friends, very great man.
You're still a fan of wrestling today?
I am. I try to keep up with it. I'm more of a business person than a typical wrestling fan, I guess. I like any opportunity to pull and see what I could do for business. And modern WWE is a great example of a business. It's an entertainment industry, and they're doing magnificently well in business and strategies. And so I love keeping up with it and seeing new tactics and things that they do and what effects they have on the people, because those are the same people that are going to be looking at my work as well. So knowing your audience really does help, but I do keep up with it quite a bit.
As a younger fan, which of course you are, compared to us, everybody's a younger fan. We feel that there's a disconnect, and I don't think it's just because we're older. We feel that there's a disconnect with some of the younger folks, wrestling fans, to the old school guys. Is there any thoughts to that Ivan Koloff is not as remembered as he should be? Is that part of your mission here, to get younger people to realize, hey, wait a minute, check this guy out because you're missing something here?
I think that disconnect that you're talking about, a lot of people in modern wrestling don't know the foundations to wrestling. Um, there is a lot that my grandfather did to lay the foundation for heels all throughout. I mean, um, from like The Rock and heel, any heel turn in history. My grandfather really did lay a foundation for what it means to be a heel. I don't think that's too out there to say. He really was a foreign heel that was hated. I mean, even 50 years later, people still hate him. I mean, that's pretty impactful. But I think that lack of understanding the foundation, it's more of a, you're going to watch your favorite movie that just came out with Tom Cruise. It's more of an entertainment rather than an athletic sport now. And nothing wrong with that. But I just think fans don't have that understanding of where it came from. They don't do that deep dive in the history. And my mission isn't necessarily to uncover that, rather than to uncover the inspiration and the motivation. I think that those principles that are present in historical wrestling, that grit, that devotion, that passion that they had, I think that can be translated now to this modern industry in this modern era. And I think fans can really get an understanding of what these guys went through. They were so passionate, they were willing to put their bodies on the line for what they did. You know, they broke every bone in their body for what they loved. And I think people don't understand that about the foundation of wrestling now. They see it on TV. Oh, they'll be fine. They'll recover and come back. I think that's the true foundation and fundamental things that are missing. And that's what I hope to bring back.
Millet, I kind of feel like after listening to you speak, are you also using this vehicle to try to get your business feet under you to start to build another type of business and just kind of get the feeling what's going on out there? Is that part of your mission too? And the second part, is it also to spread God's love?
Yes, to both of those. I love business. That's something I've always had a passion for. The rebranding of Ivan Koloff is something I understand. He's been passed away for almost 10 years. I understand you really can't do much with somebody that's not here anymore. You know, he doesn't make appearances. So when I approach this rebranding, I want it to be something people remember his name and what he stood for, like it's a business. I do treat this like a business, and I pull from we have so much, we have the internet now, and I like to use that to our advantage and pull from what works for everybody, and let's make this happen. But the common goal, the reason why I'm building it like a business, is to reach those people that this message might not reach. Love and passion, just like my grandfather taught me, I hope to teach to other people. I think if the world had more passionate people, the world might be a better place. And that's kind of something my grandfather taught me. And so that's the principle of this business and why I study it and push it so hard. I think it needs to be heard.
So then I'm going to ask you this. We're going to go off of wrestling a little bit. I want to ask you, what were your thoughts, considering you're such a follower in Christ, and so are Jimmy and myself? What were your feelings about the day last year when the Charlie Kirk was assassinated, being that he was a man of God? What were your thoughts about that situation?
It's definitely a day that I will remember for the rest of my life. It was very unsettling for me, not even in a political sense, but the way I viewed it was that was a man that literally just talked about what he was passionate about. In a sense, me and him aren't that different. You know, you love somebody enough, God or a family member, and you die for that. What was so outlandish to me and was so jarring to me was how people responded to it. We live in an age now where people want people to be shut up for speaking what they believe, and I think that's what's wrong and what he stood for. So yeah, it really was a day that jarred me quite a bit. Not because of any political reason, but because the man just spoke what he believed. He spoke his truth. He spoke what he believed, and people's reaction to that was very jarring for me.
Jimmy and I are a very strong believer in women's rights, right? And in today's world, you know, we're seeing some involvement when it comes to race or religion. But the one thing we don't see enough involvement is women's rights. I want to keep it on Charlie Kirk for a minute. As a woman, what were your thoughts about Charlie Kirk's comment? Like, I know a lot of women that, whether they thought it or told it, they felt that Charlie Kirk degraded women. And with what he said, what were your thoughts as a woman about Charlie Kirk?
I really wasn't as much into the political. I never sided with him or sided against him. I definitely have my beliefs and what I hold true. But I will never have anything against anybody for what they say. If somebody said they absolutely hated women, man, that sucks, because I am a woman's woman for sure. But I mean, he believes what he believes. At the end of the day, he could have said anything. I don't think anybody should die for that. And I believe standing up for what you believe, stand up, put some backing behind it. Obviously, I think women should have rights and should be able to do anything a man can do, and I'm very women's rights. But just as much as I'm able to express that, I think he should have been able to freely express what he believed as well.
Well, unfortunately, just like the prophet from Nazareth, his words of good intent were twisted.
Yep.
What jarred me that day, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this, and it's not an easy thing to talk about, but I feel that the undisputable bond biblically between Judaism and Christianity is under attack. Any thoughts on that?
I definitely think there's a lot in the Bible that is coming to light now, especially with modern things and things that Charlie Kirk talked about. I think twisting of words is our society's way of numbing us to things, making it seem incredible or illegible or kind of jarring what we believe, taking the truth away from it. What do we really believe? And I think that's something really sad about our societies. We don't know what to believe. We go with whatever social media tells us to. And that's something really, really upsetting in this modern society. And I think people really just need truth and passion and love. They need the right things in their life. They need people to stand up for that. And yeah, I think there's things coming to light with things that we've always been told, but there's people that twisted Charlie Kirk's words just like the social media does. And I think it's an addiction and a phenomenon that really needs to be addressed, and people don't talk about it enough.
Being a spiritual person, is it a phenomenon or a tool of the devil?
Both.
Good
I
answer.
definitely think people can have good intentions with what they do, and interpretation is the tool
Right
of the devil.
answer. Yep.
Let's go back to women in general, being a businesswoman and coming up, right? How difficult do you feel, especially doing this wrestling thing, all right? You know, we all know how women were treated in wrestling. It's getting better. We understand that. And again, I know this isn't your ultimate goal, but how do you feel about being a woman in business? Like, you know, again, there's so many strong women in business, but
In this
you know,
business,
do you feel you're going to get a shake, a proper shake, or do you think people don't respect you? Again, I don't know what your deals are. You know, there's agents out there and everything else, but do you feel that being a young woman, right, young and a woman, that these soured veterans and agents think they can pull the wool over your eyes, for
They're out
lack of a
there.
better term? I'm not allowed to say it because I'm not in wrestling, but I'll say it
Yeah.
anyway. They're going to work you.
Mm.
What do you feel about that?
I definitely have been very fortunate to have an understanding of the business already, but I have also felt that pushback almost a little bit. That's something. I am on the younger side, and I am a woman, and I'm often the only woman in these rooms. I'm the only one under 30 in these rooms, and it almost feels like you do have to work 10 times harder for a spot at the table. But what I've learned is you have to go in there with just, I belong to be here as much as anybody else. I've done the work. And that's something that you do get pushbacks. And sometimes people look at you sideways. But I mentioned earlier, the people that are meant to be in this business and have the common goal are not those people that are going to be pushing back against you. So I've definitely learned that. I know what I'm doing. There's more to learn, but I need people that can teach me. And if I'm going to be disrespected and pushed back against because I'm a woman and of my age, we have the common goal. And I think people that realize that are the people that I need to be working with.
I love it, Jimmy. I feel like really stupid now. I mean, she's got an answer for everything. I don't even know what to say anymore, Jimmy. I don't know.
I mean, I know I understand the King James Bible and I can read Shakespearean stuff, but I still feel stupid. I agree. I don't know what's going on here.
I was just thinking, oh, Melody, you're like, I thought this was a wrestling show here. I'm used to getting asked about arm bars and my grandfather, and I'm getting asked about women and Charlie Kirk and. You know,
I always like to say I'm the type of person, I'm an open book. If you want an answer, I'll give it to you. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But I'm not going to hide who I am and my beliefs and what I've been taught and what I've learned. So,
Yeah.
And that's what Jimmy and I have always believed in, right? You know, when we have a guest on, it's the guest time to speak their minds, right? We're not here to judge. We're not here to argue. We may give a counterpoint to what you're saying, but, you know, I think what we're trying to establish here is when these wacko wrestling fans come up to your table, they're not going to be able to take advantage of you, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and if you really want to see what happens when it comes to pushback and the little guy having to defend himself constantly, come see us this weekend because guys are threatening to beat us up. So whatever. Whatever. We're like a decade in. You're going to beat us up over professional wrestling. Okay. Yeah, let me get my yo-yo. Okay, now what? These people are nuts. Just beware. That's all we're saying. Beware.
What do you
I've got
want,
some good
Pat?
people beside me, and I've got a level head on my shoulders, and I've
Yeah.
had one of the best trainers ever. I mean, people would love to be trained by Ivan Koloff, not just in wrestling
Oh, yeah.
technique, but psychology. And I'm very
Yeah.
blessed he taught me the business and psychology, gave me a level mindset, a firm foundation. He gave me a lot of what I needed to do this and continue his legacy. So,
So one last time, the big event this Saturday. Tell people what
yeah.
they're going to expect from the Koloff family reunion.
I definitely think you're going to see a side of the Koloffs you've not seen in a very long time. Obviously, you've got Neil, he's a newer Koloff. You've got Vladimir and Nikita, and I think when you get all five of us together, you're gonna see something you've never seen before. You may love us or you may hate us, and I think that's up for people to decide later on. But you're definitely gonna be able to meet and share your stories, and hopefully, you don't walk away swearing at us.
Well, Melody, it's been an honor. We can't wait to meet you in person on Saturday. And you know what? We wish you only the best to you, your family, your grandmother. Looking forward to meeting your grandmother also. And so thank you for giving us the honor to come on the Monte and the Pharaoh show.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's been such an honor talking with y'all.
God
Thank
bless.
you.
We'll see you in less than 48 hours.
Yes, I'll see you.
Be well. Jimmy, awesome, right? Awesome sauce.
Well, way too classy for this show. I'll tell you that.
You ain't kidding, dude. Like, I gotta tell you something. Like, I'm used to working with no, whoops, I shouldn't say that. I'm used to knowing stupid young people, and like this person is like, she blew me away. I got blown
Yeah.
away.
Once in a while, you come across somebody who was just raised the way we all hope to be. I mean, as I'm hearing her background and her family and how they respond to whatever they need to respond to, I'm like, I don't know, maybe I wasn't raised so good.
Well, dude, I gotta tell you, like, no anger, like, and it wasn't like a lie. Like, you could tell it wasn't
Incredible.
a lie, right? She's just
No,
flat out like,
no,
hey,
not
you know
at
what?
all.
It's an honor. It's an honor to do this, and it's. I'll
And
tell you
hey,
what, I'm looking forward to meeting her. I got to be honest with you.
sounds like Ivan Koloff was an awesome grandpa.
You ain't kidding, right?
Like, come on. And then he's leaving the messages. By the way, if anybody pisses her off, just get Nikita to leave a message in Russian.
Dude, but what does it say? Look, I'm being 100% honest. If I was fortunate to be in Ivan Koloff's shoes and having the career that I had.
Yeah.
Now, we all heard the stories, right? I had heard a
Yeah.
story that him and superstar Graham held up Vince McMahon Sr. for a lot of money, and that caused the issue. But I don't know. I don't know how if that issue really went deep enough, because you remember Ivan came back for a run against Backlund, right?
Right. Yes.
So it kind of doesn't hold water. You know what I'm saying? But regardless, between his career and go ahead.
I think Ivan, like I said to her, I still feel like Ivan internally, maybe he didn't express it, and he kept business outside of the family, obviously, from what she says. So, but it must have pissed him off. It must have frustrated him at least. I mean, my God.
But not listen, from what Melody says, he was just happy. Like okay, they're not pissed. I don't think pissed him off is the right thing.
I think in the end, Mike, what was it? The internet that raged about, get him in the hall, get him in the hall? I guess so, because people never let that go. That did have something to do with him getting in eventually. People never stopped, and they never should have.
Yes.
He should be in.
I agree with you, but I would say this. The thing that's amazing to me, he was upset he wasn't in, but he wasn't mad, and no ill will towards the McMahon family at all.
Right.
And, again, if someone kept him out, it was our man Vince, who we love, right? But again, for what reason, I don't. My whole point is, how do you not put and give a big, decent ceremony to Ivan Koloff?
Right.
And
All
you know,
right.
to add one
I
more,
agree.
I'm sorry, I know he never worked in the WWE, but Nikita Koloff should be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
I agree. Look, I didn't like the backdooring of McDaniel and Brody. What the hell are you doing? Look, those guys are legends. Stop it. Stop, 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 stop. You don't backdoor any of
Look,
them.
I'm
You
not
don't.
trying to be offensive
You
here,
don't
but
backdoor them, Mike.
would
I'm
it be
sorry.
fair for me to say that Ivan Koloff had a bigger career than Brody and
In a
McDaniel?
WWE, obviously. Obviously.
How about NWA though, as the
In
Russians?
in
No,
general, I'm still giving the back of the baseball card, but you know what? Maybe we'll do a head-to-head.
we might have to do a head-to-head.
Why
Might have
not?
to do a head-to-head.
Let's save the suspense for when we get to that one. But
But I'll leave it with.
but you got to grant me one way or the other.
Good.
I'm sorry, Mikey.
Yeah,
One
good.
way or the other. You got to grant me Waho McDaniel, Bruiser Brody, those types. You don't backdoor them.
No, you can't backdoor them.
That's absurd.
But you know what, Jimmy? We talk about as we get older, we talk about life moving on, right? Here's Ivan Koloff's real legacy.
Right.
Look what he raised. Obviously, we never met the mother, but clearly Melodie came from her mother and father, and obviously was raised. So guess what?
Yeah.
Ivan Koloff, the grandmother. I'm sorry, I don't think Melodie gave the name. They should be honored and proud of what they have built. Because that's one hell of a family, dude.
There might be something to it too. Not that long ago, we had a guest that remarked that in real life, the ones who usually play the villains are really good people. And here's another example of that, because Ivan Koloff was like villain number one. We all hated him. Oh my God. Couldn't stand Ivan Koloff. Boo.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I did. I hated the shit out of him, dude.
Yeah, that's what he did. Job well
You know what's
done.
funny though? I liked Nikita though.
Did you?
I love Nikita.
They were the Russians. I was like, no, boo. I didn't waste my money on Rocky IV to go, okay, go Koloffs. No, boo.
Go Koloff. By the way, fans are hankering for Melodie and the Pharaoh. They want Monte gone, dude.
Oh, stop it.
Just saying.
Stop that.
Just telling you what the fans are saying, dude.
That's silly. How about Melodie and Bruce, and we can take a couple of weeks off? What do you think?
Melodie and Bruce. By the way, I want to remind everybody the great Chrissy Rivera coming on at 9
Bruce
o'clock.
the
It's
cat,
going to be off the
Mike.
hook.
Not Bruce.
Chrissy Rivera will be coming on the show. So I'm very excited for that. Got a lot to talk to her about. Jimmy, as always, I want to thank everybody for joining us on the early Thursday show. Remind everybody, if you're going to the big event, New York, hold on. Oh, by the way, Ribshot says that he hates my AI shit. So.
Oh, me too. Don't worry about it, Rib. It is what it is.
He's like, you're out of control. But I want to remind everybody, the big event.
Join us this Saturday for Monte and the Pharaoh at the big event New York. It's going to be huge.
That looks like us, dude.
Terrible. Awful.
Really?
I look like John Morrison. It's just absurd. It's absurd.
You look good, dude.
I look
you're
good
pretty
now.
handsome.
Leave it alone.
No, but you're really handsome, dude. Really handsome.
What? I'm not now? Oy.
I like the AI guy better. I'm good looking.
I know you like AI. It gives you something to do in between porn breaks. Unbelievable.
With that, send us out,
Are we going to see Jenna, by the way?
I told you, Jenna Jameson.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, on a serious note, everybody, we'll be at the show. Come by, say hello, take a picture with Monte and the Pharaoh. Join us at the big event. The three guys that said they're going to kill me, by all means, come up, say hello.
Oh, God.
Jimmy will be there to fuck you guys up. It'll be good.
Don't volunteer my violence.
You have to go through Jimmy before you get through me. Got it?
Yeah.
You're going through that guy on my left before you get through me, brother.
Yeah. I'll ask you if you want a cigarette and a bowl of weed. Leave me alone.
Send us out, bro.
You've been hanging with Monte and the Pharaoh, and we'll see you shortly. We'll be right back. Later.
Couple things I want to cover, Jimmy.
Yeah.
500 level has now improved on the M&P code. Now go to MP30 for 30% off. Jimmy, I got to tell you something, right? I was at the beach again, 500 level. If you guys haven't looked at the shirts, right, go to the website. It's incredible. And I got to be honest, right? So was a little chilly today. I brought the dogs to the beach. I was off work for the Jewish
cold
holidays.
Today.
Right?
It's cold.
It was cold,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I have from 500 level. I have a Roman Reigns sweatshirt. Now, usually sweatshirts are not always the nicest fabric, unless I'm into really nice fabric because I just don't like things up against my skin. So usually I'll get thinner type of shirts, but this is a heavy sweatshirt. The fabric, unbelievable. And you're going to get a deal at 30% off, Jimmy. I mean, my God, it's a no-brainer, guys. I am telling you, once you get one shirt from them, you'll get 50. I guarantee it. And they've got all the sports. Yeah, dude, tell me what you think of it, Jimmy.
They're so comfortable. I got to get a long sleeve now. I'm telling you, I got to, because it was chilly today, especially for a guy who's been in Panama City Beach the last 2 years. It was chilly today, and I love the material. It's so silky. Is that the right word for it? I don't know.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, dude.
It's so comfortable. So, yeah, I got to get myself some leveled long sleeves. That's for sure. 30%.
And again, it doesn't, they got plenty of wrestling stuff. They got baseball stuff. They've got football. They got everything, dude. MMA. They got it all, man. And I'm telling you, it's very high quality. Again, 500 level, code MP30, 30% off. So if a t-shirt costs you $20, what's 30% off on $20, dude?
It's enough. 10 plus another 20% tacked on top. Not much. It's a steal.
I agree.
And we're visiting Pharaoh's here after last night's Super ECW tribute show.
Deluxe.
Pharaoh's looking good though. As he gets older, he can handle his liquor a little better, right? But we'll be floating around. Hopefully, get to see a few people. We'll be posting these videos. So we'll talk to you soon.
I don't care if they talk shit. I don't talk to hypocrites. If you hate me, that's just fine. Go on down and get in line. They try to tell me what I need, and it sure ain't nothing good for me. Don't care what they say, it's all just talk. Gonna head my way and walk.